The word estate conjures up images of wealth and possessions. In reality, your estate is simply everything you own. Any money in the bank, monies owed to you, investments, stocks, or retirement accounts, 401ks, the home you own, other properties, your automobiles, your fishing boat, even your golf clubs. So we all have an estate, and your estate planning formally defines your rights and what happens to those things upon your death. It also defines your wishes for guardianship of minor children and your health care should you be unable to make decisions on your own. Sam will talk more about the common terms used in estate planning in other videos, but in this video, he'll start by defining the terms and answering some fundamental questions as they relate to the estate planning process.
I get a lot of questions about estate planning terminology. One of the most fundamental ones is, well, what's an estate? And an estate is just a group of property, options you have in property, and rights. And there can be many different types of estates. There can be a marital estate and a divorce. There can be a company estate and a bankruptcy. In the case of a death, it's just the property and rights that that person still owned when they died. Next up is, well, what is a will? Well, a will controls that property that you still own when you die and says that what you want to have happen to that. Well, you execute what happens in the will in probate. What is probate? Probate is the legal process for a judge to review, authorize, and execute the instructions that you've left in your will. Oftentimes it's associated with a lot of undue cost and time. Oftentimes we'll try and avoid that by putting items in trust to avoid probate. Well, what is a trust? In a legal sense, a trust is just an agreement between somebody who owns property and someone who's going to control or protect that property. In a lot of cases, that can be the same person. Best to think of a trust in a metaphorical sense as a vehicle for transporting or transferring property. So a vehicle has an owner, just like a trust has a settler. A vehicle has a driver, just like a trust has a trustee. And a vehicle may have people who are allowed to reach in or ride in the vehicle, just like a trust has beneficiaries. Another important part of the estate plan is powers of attorney. Well, what is that? Basically a document that says who is allowed to do things on your behalf should you be incapacitated. The important part of that is making sure that those powers of attorney are durable so that they are effective if you're incapacitated. Normally a power of attorney is automatically a void once you're incapacitated. So we want to make sure those are in place. Last item of note I get questions on is a DNR. What is a DNR? Shorthand for do not resuscitate. It's a relatively limited document that says what circumstances you should be resuscitated in regard to a particular hospital or facility that you might be admitted to. Sometimes you'll hear these in Colorado referred to as MOST forms or medical order scope of treatment. Three important takeaways in regard to those is, one, they're not universal. Just because you have some generic DNR doesn't mean that you can take that to a hospital in one city to a hospital in a neighboring city and they will accept it. Second part is you want to make sure you've got the appropriate ancillary documents, medical power of attorney, advance directive, living will, so that your representatives can execute a new DNR on your behalf should it become necessary. Final takeaway is, because these aren't universal, you can't assume that just because you have that DNR on the fridge or a bracelet on your wrist that the paramedics or firefighters are going to honor that if someone calls 911 and they come to the house. They are probably going to still administer treatment and take you to the hospital because they don't want the liability for assuming that that was an accurate document. They're going to leave that to the hospital to determine whether that's legally effective. Those are some of the terms that we encounter in the estate planning field, and I am available for any questions that you might have.